I'd like to begin with the definition of today's topic, which is architecture, which is perspectives, and the definition of it in architecture, which is the way we basically see things. I'd like to start with a very simple perspective that everybody sees every single day that they walk in the street. And the best example is, here I have a railway line leading onto a one-point perspective, which you can basically see when you go downtown Leithra Street, let's say, for example. This is a two-point perspective in which you have two vantage points and you create the views that you see here. This is the coolest perspective for us architects because basically it's a three-point perspective. So we actually distort images when we create a 3D visualization to create this view, which ends up being kind of unrealistic. I was asked a very, very interesting question, I would say a few days ago, while I was preparing for this TED Talk, and it was basically a question which took me off guard because somebody asked me, how do you do what you do? And I thought about it, and I don't know how I do what I do. I just do what I do, and it made me think. It made me think, how do I do what I do? And it took me back. It took me back to my childhood. I had to start and take those baby steps and think, how did I get here today? So for me, one of the most important things is basically Legos. Everybody's played with Legos. They're not architects. So for me, that was one of the most important building blocks within creating who I am today as an architect. These are my children. Another important part of growing up to become an architect today and to do what I do every day is playing outdoors, which most people do less and less of today. I think it's very, very important because you end up doing stuff that doesn't involve sitting at, watching TV, or basically you have to get out and have fun. This is my kids again drawing, and this was the most important part of me growing up because drawing was the basis of what I am today. This is me running. I take sports very, very seriously. I do triathlon on a daily basis, and what's really, really important about doing this is that it basically puts me into autopilot. I switch off, and I'm able to find a way to solve problems that I wasn't able to solve in the office that have to do with my business. I grew up, also my dad is a musician, so I grew up playing the piano. Unfortunately, I didn't really like doing it because my dad was a musician, so I didn't want to do what he wanted me to do. So thus, I'm an architect today. But it really, really helped me because in sixth form, I was a D student in math, and I had to find a way to enjoy what I do because you need to love what you do to be able to be good at it. That's what I think. So I found a way to visualize things so that I could become better. What helped me was music. So I became an A student in 1 year just because I did my homework and I found a way to visualize things and understand them and enjoy them. Career maturing. I'm at a stage now where I'm 12 years into the business, so it's a very, very strange phase that I'm at right now because I worked 5 years and then I set up my own company, and now I'm a 7th year into my career. And it's very interesting because, architects want to be famous, we want to be recognized, but do we really? I don't. I mean, I want people to respect my work, but I also want to just do my job, and I want people to speak well of that, of how I dealt with a project once I turn my back and walk away because the job's been dealt with and finished, and the client's talking nicely about it because they're happy that the final delivered project is what they wanted. It's what they paid for. Here we have a picture of Buckminster Fuller, who is one of the most famous architects in the 60s, and he did the geodesic dome in Canada for the Expo in 1960s. I can't remember the date exactly. To his left is Lord Norman Foster. He is one of the most iconic architects in today's architectural world. And it's nice to see because the man on the left, which is Sir Norman Foster, Lord Norman Foster now, he basically was mentored by this man, Buckminster Fuller. And I feel like we're learning from every single experience that we have. So 12 years in, I still feel like I'm a teenager in my business. Today's tools of the trade, very, very important things that actually, if I think that if I was still drawing, I wouldn't be an architect today. What really helped me was computer-aided design. Why? Because I found a way that everybody uses. This is our basic language. If we do not have computer-aided design, we cannot do what we do today. There's no way you'll get a job. You won't be able to function. You won't be able to produce the work that you need to produce. The internet, extremely important, because now you can travel without leaving your house. So it's really important. I feel that you don't need to go to Barcelona or to Berlin. You do need to, but you don't need to if you can't. So if you can't afford to travel on a constant basis, you can log onto the internet, find what you're looking for. It can help you build that project. Open source. I think open source is one of the coolest things right now, and there's architects that are finding ways to share information, and I think it's really, really important. This is building information technology, BIM, it's called, BIM. Basically, that is also really, really cool because it's a way in which that architects, mechanical engineers, any consultant involved in a business can start from the day that the design is being put together, the logistics of it, to the final product. This works on large-scale projects and is really, really an important tool. This next slide is basically the 3D printer, which it's exploded in popularity. And it's really, really important because I, as an architect, hated making models. Today, we can make a computer-aided design. Most clients don't understand. You know, you tell them, look, this is what we have, and you walk them through it, they don't get it. Oh, we don't know, we can't tell what's 3 meters by 4 meters. So what's really important is that you can actually print something that's small in your office and hand it to the client, and the client can touch it and feel it and say, you know what, I understand now, and I don't like it that way. Well, thank God he told us that now and not later on when it was too late. So that's great. And this is not here by mistake. What's really, again, really key for me is what we teach our kids, my wife and myself, is sharing is caring. That's why Barney is here, because it's his motto, sharing is caring. And anyone that has kids will have passed through this ordeal of watching Barney. So what I really like about that actual phrasing is that it's really important to share information. It's no longer, oh no, I can't show this guy this because then he's going to steal the idea and take it to the next level. It's not that. I think it's really important that you can share your information because one day I'll be able to borrow that back to create something new. How architects design. That space is my office. That's where we create, that's where we have our meetings, that's where we take things to the next level. How do we design? It's really hard to say. I can't explain that. I think you'd have to just have an architect and see how it is that they work, and every architect works differently. But what we try and do is be as productive as possible so that we waste as little time and money for everybody. So we basically create a way of being very productive in a short amount of time to get the job done to make the client happy, which makes me happy. To the left, you have one of the coolest architects out today, Björk Ingels Group, BIG. He's one of the most famous young architects. He's a year older than me. I'm turning 40, so he's 40. And again, that's my office on the right. It shows you how things are similar, but they're different, scale and so on. This is an example of how many domes had to be created by Lord Norman Foster for the Reichstag in Berlin before he actually found the finished product that he wanted to do. Most people don't see the stages that we go through, and they come and they say, oh, you know, that building that you did is really crap. Or that building that you did is, oh, it's really nice. It doesn't matter if it's nice or not nice. Well, I'd prefer it to be nice, but they don't know what it took to go from step A to step Z. They see Z, and this is an example of that path. Client-architect interaction. This never happens. Never, ever, ever, ever happens. This is the ideal. When a client comes to me, within the first hour, I tell them, guys, you know, we're going to work together. We're going to have a few arguments. I hope that, you know, we can become friends again and so on. But it's a two-way highway. You have to listen to your client, and your client has to listen to you. So it's really important that you find that golden median and the way to work with somebody. Otherwise, it's not going to work. the surrounding environment and its importance on design. A lot of architects don't pay attention to this, and a good example of this is one of the most iconic buildings still being built today, and it started being built in 1882. It's the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. I'm sure that pretty much everybody knows what this building is. Very few people won't know it. I'm putting this as an example. Why? Because I believe that this building, most people don't see it as an eyesore or a bad building. Neither do I. I'm not going to put it down. But what's really important about this building is that how does it fit in with its setting? It's out of place. It doesn't make sense. You know, you look at it, it's huge. You only have one more tower in the background, which is Torre Akbar by Jean Nouvel. You come into this view and you see this colossal building with all these buildings that were probably not around when they started building it in 1882. And the delivery date of this is 2026. The pyramids took less time to build. So it's really weird. This is the final product. This is 2026 projected visual, the 3D perspective that we have. My point with this is that everyone views architecture differently. But what's really, really key about this building, and it's a good example, I believe, is that it really doesn't fit in with its surroundings, and its surroundings don't fit in with it. That could be good and bad. Depends which side you're looking from. Starchitects, a word coined not so long ago to talk about the fantastic architects in the world. An example of which is star and architects, starchitects. So you have Lord Norman Foster on the left, you have Zaha Hadid on the right, both doing work in Cyprus. You have Renzo Piano on the left, and this coolest of architects right now, Björk Ingels group. And then you have Frank Lloyd Wright, very controversial architect, but everybody just seems to say the good stuff about him, which is a good thing. And then you have Calatrava on the right, and Calatrava is the only architect that I believe in the world today that is an engineer and an architect. So hats off to him, because he's the only guy that I know that can do that. Here is, for me, the most controversial guy in the last few days, really, and in the last few decades. It's Frank Gehry. He did the Bilbao Museum, which I'm sure everybody knows about, and he did a lot of other weird buildings. What's really important about him is that I grew up in university loving him. I then ended up not liking him, and then I went to really liking him again, because architects evolve and change. You're not going to design the same way you designed before, because you learn. It's a building block. You move from point A to point B to point C. You learn from the people in your office. You learn from the collaborations you have outside. He actually said something really interesting. He actually did something interesting in an interview. He gave the middle finger to one of the journalists and told them that most architecture, 98% of architecture today is 98% of it is pure shit. I think I could say that, I don't know. Sorry, beep. So what's really important here is that I'm talking at it from a neutral point of view. I think what he did was great. Why? Because the guy's 85 years old. I'm shocked he didn't do anything worse. He's had enough. People are putting him down. You do crap architecture. You do showy architecture. It's what he said. He said showy architecture. That's when the guy reacted. So what's really important is that everybody has their own opinion. Like him, hate him. He's done something like all the other people I've shown you before to make architecture what it is today. I'm here today because of these people. Good or bad, it doesn't matter. What's important is that bad is good and good is bad, and you have to learn from both. Here's an example. Cool architecture, big group, and not so cool for me. Frank Gehry on the right. Maybe for this case, for something else I'll like. So it's personal. This is really, really important. People believe that because you know the right people, you'll get the job. Because you're lucky, you'll get the job. Because. I don't think that's important. I think what's most important is hard work. Work hard every day. You'll get there someday. So my motto is knock on a door long enough, somebody's going to open it. You don't know what you're going to find when you open it, but they're going to open it at some point. Sports. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I know there's a few people that will throw in some sports today. What's really important for me, I found the stress release. What is that? It's training every single day. I train every day, not to lose weight, not to look good. I do it so that my mind feels better, so that my work can get better. I feel that it's a two-way highway again, like with clients. the way I train helps me solve problems. I solve problems on the run. And I'm able to help myself at work because of sports. And sports and work helps me back again. Sorry. Both help. One helps the other, basically. Nothing is ever good enough. Nothing is ever good enough. I look back, I look at a project I did 10 years ago. I think it's great, but I think I'll always find something I could change. And that's good. That keeps you fresh. That keeps you going. Finally, failure is good in the long run. Fall down so that you know how to get up. You need to fall down enough, not too much, because too much failure is no good. If you fail enough and have enough strength to get back up the next day, you'll find a way to get by that. I have friends and people that I know that have never failed or have failed once, and that's it, game over. You need to know how to fail. You need to know how to move on. What's really important on a final note is that you must love what you do, I believe. That's easy to say because most people I know don't love what they do. They really like. I saw a big show of hands. That was really cool. That was really, really good. I'm happy because the more we love what we do, the better we'll be at it. And the more we won't say, oh, I have to get up and go to work. It's not work. I go on Saturday and Sunday. I go on holidays. It's not work. It's not. It's a hobby. So what's really important is that if you don't love what you do, you have to find a way to turn that disadvantage into an advantage. You have to find a way that disadvantage, that thing you don't like going to do, will turn into something good. You have to find, you can't, you're going to go crazy. If you do 10 years of something you hate, you're not going to do it well. You're not going to deliver. You're not going to be a happy person. So my opinion is try and turn your disadvantages into an advantage. Thank you.